China has identified the cause of the
mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
More than 3 billion people in almost 70 countries and territories have been asked to stay at home.
We were like sheep without a shepherd. We were totally lost, pondering and wondering what happens tomorrow.
We were not able to have any guests come into the house and eat with us. We didn't always have them in the past, but it wasn't uncommon either to arrive in the dining area of our residence and find out that we had one or a couple or even a group.
It's not really a shrine if there's no pilgrims.
We can't wait for people to come to us. We need to find ways of going to them.
Never in the shrine's history has so much depended on the generosity of so few dedicated people. Once we heard of the pandemic and once the government policy was set on how to live in community, a decision had to be made about the future of Martyrs Shrine. Normally we welcome thousands of people here every year, over 100,000, and on some weekends up to 10,000 people at a time. Well, obviously with the new protocols that were in place, Martyrs Shrine couldn't host these large numbers of people.
Closing the shrine really had a very dramatic impact on the community that I can see. The connection not only to the spiritual pieces that are provided here, but also to the cultural fabric of the whole area. The Saturdays with hundreds of thousands of visitors rolling in from whatever pilgrimage was happening in the moment. That has a ripple effect, and certainly had a big ripple effect for us at St. Marie, and on a more larger scale, certainly for all in North Simcoe.
Well, there was a drastic effect really right off the bat. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of question in what we're going to be doing and how we proceed through this and be able to get to the other side without too many hiccups or too much issue, and be able to do this safely with the community that we developed here on the site of the Martyrs Shrine.
It got us totally at a loss to take this difficult step of closing the entire shrine down with 40 to 50 employees. And how would people take it? How would we maintain the buildings, the grounds? What about those employees that left us? What support are they going to get? How are they going to feed their families? And 1,001 questions, and we were totally dumbfounded. It's like a shock wave that sort of hit us in the face.
The virus and its effects on us very, very greatly, both last summer of 2020 and this year. we were reduced to, in terms of live interaction with people on site, we were reduced to really the most minimal. And our life in the house changed greatly too, especially last summer and this summer, when we would have been here in direct interaction with people in their thousands, and instead, mostly, we were doing what we would do in the winter.
One of the things during COVID is that we couldn't have contact with people. We knew that they were going through different challenges and situations. And so all we could do was pray for them.
Staffing is always a big question. And anywhere you go, any business, any operation, anywhere that you're at, staffing is always a huge question. And because of the pandemic, the impact that we've had, we lost all of our staff. We had no choice.
It was a very difficult process because we're family, and every single person we bring into the shrine is part of the shrine family, and we work together to realize the work of the shrine. And so to imagine having to go to our beloved staff and speak to them to say that we're going to have to lay you off was a very, very difficult decision.
We've operated with a skeleton crew that have been tremendous at picking up all the slack, and as well as with some volunteer help like myself.
The decision to remove some of the staff, to lay off some of the staff permanently because of the financial downfall related to the COVID-19 pandemic was probably one of the hardest choices I have ever had to make in my 25 years in the Society of Jesus. We don't simply have employees here at Martyrs Shrine, we have companions who are dedicated and who are skilled and have extraordinary gifts and talents. We are less without them.
I noticed a drastic impact on the Jesuits during COVID-19. The fact that men who dedicated their lives to being present for other people were being stopped in their duty and moral obligation to be present with people. Of course that had a drastic impact on the fathers. I witnessed it all the way through. Even they put their good face on. Nobody shows directly that, you know, they're saddened or anything by the event. You know, the fathers maintained a positive outlook all the way through. But because I do know the fathers very, very closely and I work directly with them in their home, I have noticed that there's been a level of sadness that's gone through the community, and a deep desire to be back with the people.
Typically during our busy summer season, we would have guests at the Magis, up to 15, 17 guests that I would be preparing meals for, and as well as looking after the fathers that are residents here year round.
Very, very much affected our life in the house, and the fact that because of the restrictions by government and church leadership in the Archdiocese, we were not able to have any guests come into the house and eat with us. We didn't always have them in the past, but it wasn't uncommon either to arrive in the dining area of our residence and find out that we had one or a couple or even a group joining us, and to have no one with us every day of the week made us really learn to focus on, hopefully in charity, to each other's foibles and gifts.
I think it would have been, and knowing the members of the Jesuit community, I think COVID-19 would have had a really dramatic impact on them. The capacity of the shrine to help people in the community and to help people from afar really is a telling piece of the history of the location, of the importance of the location, and not being able to necessarily help as many people, I'm sure would have been a difficult challenge for the fathers.
Our principal mission here is to welcome people as they take the time in their lives to be with Christ on pilgrimage, to journey with St. John de Brébeuf and his companions, hopefully into a deeper union with Christ. Our mission here is to create and maintain beautiful spaces where people can have an encounter with God through their various cultural traditions within the Catholic faith and others. Being closed meant a hard wall stop on all of those possibilities, a closure of those spaces. Being closed during the pandemic meant that we could not offer our usual liturgical life to people who would come. It meant that we could not participate in our First Light event with St. Marie among the Hurons. It meant that we could not go out and serve in the 5 different parishes which we assist on a regular basis. It meant we couldn't be present in the high schools. We couldn't be present in the junior schools, offering masses and events there. It minimized the way in which we could be involved in our Project Santa, where normally before Christmas we go out and visit so many families and offer them a moment of Christmas cheer, encouraging the gift of family at Christmas time. It also meant that we couldn't go out and lecture at Regis College and St. Michael's College University in the same way, and it had to become Zoom. We were disconnected in a certain sense from the students that we journey with.
I feel in some way useless and not doing much.
We were, if I can put it this way, pushed into a corner, so to speak, unless we would stand back and say, well, if we can't do what we're doing in its totality, we'll do the little bit from that total package that we were allowed and continue with that. Well, that would have left us with very, very little activity on our part.
On the phone, when I had to say, no, the shrine is closed to the general public until May the 7th, it was a sad experience. But I always added, but the Jesuits will be praying for you and the martyrs will be praying for you, and we look forward to your coming back.
The response to the pilgrims for our closure was very divided. We had some people showing up at the gates, wanting to come in and being disappointed for long travels to not be able to be here.
Non-stop throughout this entire pandemic, we've had pilgrims come to the gate for various reasons, whether it be to pray, whether it be to try and gain access to the site. At times, whether it's to try and force access to the site. It's been a real mixed bag of people coming. So 2020 was an interesting year, and there was a lot of pilgrims that came to the gate, and we're in need of the shrine at that time. And standing at the gate saying, I'm sorry, but you can't come in, we are closed, was difficult. I know that there was a pretty serious impact to the fathers when those times came around, that they were down at the gate. And I know that I tried my very best to get down there before anybody else did to try and mitigate that. But
we could see, the long and short of it, we could see the desperation in their faces, in their hearts, in their voices, not being able to come here and talk to God.
For the most part, the conversations that were had down at the gate with people that were just coming, that drove hours just to be, and that just wanted to be as close as they could get and were happy to be at the gate. Those really were some enriching moments in my life that I realized what the impact of the shrine is in people's everyday, not just the once-a-year pilgrimages that they come to the shrine for, but every single day people are thinking about us and they're wondering and they're needing, and they need the shrine. So to be able to be, you know, half a kilometer away, because that's how far our gate is from the main church, that was enough for most pilgrims, and that really made me feel that we make a difference in people's lives.
There were others who felt that the church should not really bow to government legislation or government policy around the COVID-19 virus. And the odd time there would be an email or a phone call that was less than pleasant.
And they called up to shrine to ask if the shrine was open, and we had to tell them, no, I'm sorry, no. Why not? The other parishes are open. Why can't, if they're open, why can't we come? Sorry ma'am, this is not a parish, this is a shrine. But 50, 60 people allowed. I said, ma'am, we require you alive. We want you alive. You know, you're good to us when you're dead.
And on very rare occasions, one or two people coming to the gate and being rather irate of the circumstances. And on a few occasions, I would approach the gate, and I was in work clothes because I was working outside in the gardens, and I would hear things like, you tell that priest up there who's in charge that these gates need to be open. This is a church. The government shouldn't be telling us what to do. And not really revealing who I was at that moment, saying, I will pass all of this on. Thank you. I'm sorry you can't come, but please count on the prayers of all of the fathers here. So when we made the choice to, as it were, shut the gates and informed all of the pilgrimage groups and tried to inform as many people as we could that we would be closed, the responses were overall extremely supportive. I know that last year, when we first announced we'd be closed for our first season, people were very concerned for the shrine, and they were asking all sorts of questions about how they could help. And our fundraising event last year raised a high amount of money in the fall that helped us to continue through the winter months and through this summer. It was extremely heartwarming and consoling to see that, and to see the prayers, to read the prayers of people that were coming in for us and for our work.
Eternally changing, not captured, not labeled. Eternally beckoning minds to behold. Calling both lowly and mighty to table. Enables my passion, my reason, my soul. Beyond every motion. Eternally changing, not captured, not labeled. Eternally beckoning minds to behold. Calling both lowly and mighty to table. Enables my passion, my reason, my soul. Eternally changing, not captured, not labeled. Eternally beckoning minds to behold. Calling both lowly and mighty to table. Enables my passion, my reason, my soul.
While COVID has been very, very difficult for the Shrine, it's also been so powerful to witness so many people that want to reach out to help us. I was one of the board members who came in to assist with the mail and opening the donations. And in addition to the donations that we received, it was absolutely amazing to read the prayers and the intentions and the good wishes that were coming in as people were praying for the Jesuit fathers and praying for the Shrine itself and hoping for the Shrine to open as soon as possible. And so I was amazed and so impressed and so humbled by the outpouring of support for the Martyrs Shrine. It was so obvious how much the Jesuit fathers and this place is loved by thousands and thousands of people. And whether people were donating $10 or $100 or more, you could tell that they were reaching deep to do what they could to keep the spirit of the Shrine alive until we could open our gates again.
So amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and with the decision for first placing staff on leave and then the difficult decision of having them be permanently laid off, it meant that I personally, now all the Jesuits and remaining staff had to take on new roles, but I personally had to take on a lot more of the administration of Martyrs Shrine. So the hundreds of thank you letters to be prepared and mailed out, taking back direct responsibility and management for the remaining staff, taking on the responsibility of our regular payroll and our bill payment, and a lot of the processes around health and safety, our health benefit plan for the remaining staff. All of these things became part of my daily life amidst the usual work that I was doing here as director and superior of the Jesuit community, in addition to the work on the grounds and other things on the property that I decided it was important that I assist in with the limited staff that we had.
I had a lot of help from the fathers. Mainly Father Michael jumped in a lot and did a lot of work. He was along with me for most of the weeks throughout the summer. You know, getting stuck in the lawnmower and having lots of fun out there. And we got a lot of work done though at the core of it all without the help from the fathers and from other volunteers that did come in for little bits here and there.
That was relatively new to me and had to become a part of my daily life amidst everything else. So basically 3 jobs from the past rolled into one, plus the one that I continue to hold.
We closed our gates physically during COVID, but the work of the shrine needed to continue.
Sometimes people think that that means everything is shut down, curtains are drawn, sheets are put over everything, buildings are locked, and everything is sort of frozen in an isolation until they're opened up and used again. But I think many of us too have the knowledge and experience to say that that's never the case.
You know, we have 22 buildings, 3 fountains, 2 ponds, 37 monuments, 47 gardens, and new ones always coming along. It was definitely a daunting task to be looking out at the grounds as a sole person. Normally having 7 people that maintain this property to being down to a sole individual to maintain all of this land that we have. So it started off being pretty scary at the very beginning, not going to lie about that.
And because of that, it took a lot of effort and a lot of begging on my part to have the resources that we need to sustain what we have so that it can continue to be in the proper condition, so that as we welcome people back, it is that space again of prayer.
Not really pick and choose, but set the priorities for who needs the most attention. And I talk about the shrine on the property as a person, as an entity, as a human being, basically, a lot of the time. It's because she is living and breathing and growing and all of these things. So there's, it changes from day to day, but we just focused on what the absolute needs of the property were, and how we can maintain it so that when this pandemic was over, we could be in the good position to just start up and be open for the people.
COVID-19 urged us to be creative. The people were not coming, so we had to go to them and invite them to something creative.
And to reflect on the ways that we could somehow continue to be present to people, somehow continue to serve pilgrims and visitors in our mission. And some fascinating ideas came forward. We didn't use them all, but it was a wonderful time of communal discernment, which lasted a couple of days. And the result of that brought forward some interesting ways in which we have been present. The first, of course, was to have an online Mass and to offer a Sunday Mass online. And we had many people participating in that, which was a grace.
Because we had a congregation, and I could imagine people I knew in different parts of Canada, and so I was speaking to them and praying for them. Now you miss the experience of community, you miss the experience of a choir, you miss the experience of witnessing the faith of people, but you imagine it and you try to address the issues that they're dealing with at this time. So I actually enjoyed it, and it was kind of a high point of the ministry for me.
The other was to have the prayer line, to set up a 1-800 number where people could call in, and if they needed to talk about something going on in their life or their struggles amidst COVID-19, or perhaps they're ill themselves, we could continue that ministry of spiritual conversation, which is such a unique and important part of our shrine, where we have a Jesuit all the time who's available in the office to talk with people, to journey with people, to laugh with people, to pray with people.
Still being available to reach out to the millions of phone calls that kept coming in.
Knowing that on that line, they were not talking to some stranger who may or may not have any faith background in responding and dealing with it.
It was heart-wrenching to hear their stories of what they are going through. to understand what they were going through. I mean, putting ourselves into their shoes, feeling the pain, the suffering, the isolation, the loss.
And there have been some of very serious significance, and people who are struggling with not only their lives and the situation that we're all facing with the pandemic, but other ongoing matters where people have really poured forth their heart on that line. It was very important that one or other of us was there. We're not there 24 hours a day, obviously, and we only have 3 or 4 men who can be assigned to that specific role. But in my own case, I have had a few calls that you walked away and thought to yourself, you know, this was very important that I was there.
Also, to continue praying for people was key, because that's one of our principal missions here, is to pray the intentions that people bring to Mass, to pray with people who are bringing intentions into our intention box or into the votary where they light a candle.
Reasons for which people wanted candles lit as an expression of their faith and their turning to God with faith and trust in His love and response to their needs. Again, like that prayer line telephone service that we offer was really mind-boggling. Some simply said, you know, please pray for Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. Others with like a whole paragraph about what their concerns are, and please, like pleading with us, not just please light a candle, thank you, goodbye. And to see that as even in the absence of the persons, because there was no photographs with it, to see that kind of faith being expressed in an area that is traditional to a lot of Catholicism, but some people do not recognize it as a valid way to express one's faith, lighting a candle and making a financial donation or contribution. But the people who did so had no doubts of the importance and seriousness of what they were doing.
Decision for the family package. Now that one was difficult in the early lines of how we're going to do this. How is it going to work with what the government plans are for opening and closing and for restrictions and all of these things? How would the shrine be able to maintain absolute safety and security for the people that we do invite to come onto site? There was a lot of legwork behind it, so that we figured out what we could manage as far as numbers of peoples on site, what we can manage as far as how much of the site could be open and still be manageable and clean and sanitized and 100% safe for our pilgrims to come in the small group. And that's why we decided on a group of 6, because that brings it to 7 with the father, which is 100% manageable for a small team of people.
Our desire to be available to others when we could be, in the limited way that we could be, brought about the family package. And when I watch the fathers participating in the family package, welcoming a family of 6, and I see the families and I see what's going on in the interaction with a private mass or a talk or a blessing with the relics or walking in one of our gardens.
Just been a sort of a runaway success. And we've got 2 family packs, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It keeps Christoph, our pilgrimage coordinator, on his toes because he has got to disinfect the church immediately after that and the washrooms.
And I'm incredibly surprised of what this family package that we created out of COVID, to have a small amount of people, families of 6, to come here and to see the difference that this makes for people needing this program, wanting to come here, is very incredible.
2.5-hour program, and it's simple. It starts in the church with a talk about the Canadian martyrs and about the church itself.
And pray for your intentions at a mass, just for you, a private mass. And the people said, oh, you could tell on the phone. That's what excited them the most, was to have a mass where the priest was with them, praying for their intentions.
It brought great hope for what's to come. It was like the shrine experience we're used to in small, and the connections that were made with that. In the 2020 year, it became very clear that because of COVID-19, we were not having our regular Teowank dinner, where some 225 or 250 people would be gathered in a ballroom, and there would be entertainment and talks and just a time for the community, a broad range of community members locally and from the province to come together to share in celebrating the mission of the shrine and support the shrine. We couldn't do that. We couldn't have those number of people in that space. So quickly, I think along with a lot of other institutions, we made the decision to attempt to have an event online. And we called it Faith, Fire, and Flavor.
This is to help you get in the mood and feel like my actual sous chef.
Excellent. I'm feeling more like a professional already.
There you go. You look like a professional.
All right, well, this is great. This is always the fun part when people are cooking, right? You come in the kitchen and you get a little foretaste.
We prepared a televised meal, a virtual meal where people could follow along with us and prepare the meal with us. And we did a 3-course meal. It was an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. So we did, for our appetizer, we did a niçoise salad. And for our entree, we did coq au vin, which is basically chicken in a wine sauce. And for dessert, we did a cherries jubilee. And it was quite fun. We flambéed the dessert, so we put on a bit of a show for the camera. And we got tremendous feedback from all the Shrine supporters.
And we had an extraordinary response. Many people watched it, more just simply gave to the needs of the Shrine. And in that year, it was, please give us the resources that we need so that we can continue. Not having been open, not having a summer of welcoming people, there are still bills and things to pay. There are still buildings to care for and the grounds to care for. So the response was incredible. And it was a lot of fun, I must say, to be involved in the production of a small cooking show and to welcome people into our residence via the camera and to have them a part of that experience with us. There really was a sense of connection last year, I found, and some of the letters I received afterwards were just beautiful. And a couple I keep near my desk just to read once in a while to remind me of the presence of other people and their thoughts for us as we continue to pray for them.
being closed for these 2 years, as difficult as it has been, has given us a real opportunity to re-examine who we are as the Martyrs Shrine. What is our purpose? What is our calling? And then how, as we reopen, what will that look like for the people we serve?
Greater flexibility is incredibly important, and understanding that, you know, there's more to your operation than just a typical day at the shrine or at St. Marie.
And so the work of the Jesuit Fathers continued with outreach, with setting up prayer lines, with setting up other activities they needed to take care of.
Yeah, I think the shrine did an incredible job of still being important in the lives of the people in the community. I know that not necessarily the gate receipts were there and the visitors were there, but certainly hearing the stories of how the shrine contributed to people's spirituality in the region, to how it made a difference to the local people in the community, still very, very prevalent.
And we needed to take care of all the operational pieces as well. And so the Board of Trustees stepped forward, volunteers assisted. You know, Father Michael had to assume an entirely different role and be the master of all. And as we work to keep the shrine open and in the hearts and minds of all those who believe in us.
This season, the only reason we were actually able to do that is because we had 2 ground staff that we were able to hire due to the help from the Government of Canada. They enabled us to hire on 2 student helpers that got us through the season and really made it possible for us to maintain a safe, clean environment for our pilgrims to come to. It was a big decision, it was a lot of work, but I think we had to do something.
To get things ready to open now, there are some priorities that we need some extra resources to execute.
We do have a few things on site that need capital works, is what we would call that. So the roof of the church is under repair right now. We've had a leak. We had one corner of the church roof fail completely. So there's a major infrastructure that has to be done there.
There are also all new signs that need to be placed on the property. Several of them have just decayed over the last couple of years, and we've been waiting because we knew we weren't going to be opening. There is some work with the septic system that needs to be done in preparation for welcoming so many people again. We also have some smaller projects around the interior of the church, some wood preservation that needs to be done.
And along with that, there'll be a lot of increased costs for sanitizing, for PPE, all our protective personal equipment, all that sort of thing. So the support of the public is going to be even more important because we will have a lot of startup costs. After 2 years, we've tried to maintain the grounds as best we can, but there'll be increased costs there to bring them up to the beauty standard that we like when people come here. So those are some of the costs that are going to be unusual to get us going and maybe around for a while.
And then we add to that some initial upstart costs of products and things that we need to buy to be ready to be open, whether they're cleaning products or whether they're products for the gift shop. We're looking at around $90,000 that we're hoping to raise in this event, in this request, in this begging time to all of our friends and our benefactors.
And so we desperately need the support of our benefactors and our donors and our supporters and our friends, because there's so much that we need to do to get open. We've been closed for 2 years, and so there's upgrading that needs to be done. There's infrastructure that has to be worked upon. There's signs that have to be updated. And even figuring out what opening looks like and how will we open and what are those programs that we will offer when we reopen, those will take dollars to make sure we do it properly. And so the donations that we're receiving through this event are so welcome, so appreciated.
And with that money, we will have what we need to be ready to be open, to open our doors to the needs of the world. We'll be ready to do so in a way that is safe, appropriate, and of good quality, so that we can ensure that people feel very welcome and supported when they come here.
One of the things about COVID is I think we have to acknowledge the dedication of our staff. Lely, who did all the photography and all the editing for our visual ministry, and Christoph, who helped her in that and organized the family packages. Like, they had an energy and an enthusiasm and a willingness to do the littlest task or the skilled task that they have the ability to do. And that's why we were able to do the ministry that we did.
To allow people to come into the shrine, maybe with some precautionary measures of masks and disinfection and things like that. Hope to heavens that all will go well, and we want our staff to be safe. That is our priority. And our Jesuit communities also safe. I think we should be okay to open up next year.
We really want that opening day next year, and we're just looking for that and waiting for people to come and just be like we are a priest for others, and share and minister, you know, to do some ministry as a priest, saying Mass, hearing confession, blessing peoples, and so we are eager for that.
Well, what excites me the most is definitely the interaction with people and seeing, you know, the crowds come back. Hopefully not too diminished. Again, our fear is still that people might be a little hesitant due to COVID, but our goal is to be open for as many as want to come, to give them a great experience after 2 years of being closed, and that's my excitement.
Just being back, you know, having thousands of people running around the grounds again, you know, hearing the kids laughing up in the field again. It's been really lonely on the hill. It's been quiet.
I'm just so excited to see the genuine joy on people's faces as they come to the shrine. Whether you see people praying quietly at one of the shrines, whether you see them praying quietly at an altar, whether you see them participating in a Mass, there is such a beautiful sense of Catholic community when people come here. And we've been missing that.
This place is so wonderful. It needs to be open to the public, so really looking forward to that.
We really can't wait to get back out there.
To open those gates again and to be that place of prayer, that place of peace, that place of sacredness for all those who enter our gates.
That people will come more than before.
We're still here at the shrine. We closed our gates, we never closed ourselves.
Definitely there's a light at the end of the tunnel for May 7th, 2022.
And so the last 18 months have been a time of challenge, a time of struggle, a time of loss, a time of new connections with people in different ways, a time of creativity and reflection, a time of hard work and dedication from our lay staff and from the Jesuits.
I think the shrine is a Canadian treasure, a gift to the church, and let's open it up and open the gates wide and find ways for people to come here with the enthusiasm that they had when the shrine was opened way back in 1926. 10,000 people came on trains and boats to get here. We need to continue that tradition because there's a gift from God here for us.
And I guess my hope is that this documentary touch into that somehow in a personal way, as a way for us to share our grace history with our benefactors and our friends, inviting them to join us in that history and to support us as we prepare to open in May of 2022.
Right now.
This one looks spectacular.
They're just all good, I think. Just all of the sides are good. Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna stick with that anyways.
Well, that's what I'm told, but I thought that was rare.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to look at the cameras, that's why I'm sitting there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then probably better because you don't want to crack the lens.
No, I think it's already been probably too much time already.
Yeah, it's rough.
I guess we're probably losing resolution by the minute.
Yeah. So you're comfortable?
Okay, we don't want the chipmunk to drink the coffee. Yeah.
Powder my nose.
I wanted to take hydrochloroquine in because of, but
Okay, finish.
Finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can breathe now.
Done.